The fire at the tanker base in western Cuba continues to be under control. Experts estimate that it will be completely extinguished in the next hours. The International Energy Agency assures that the OPEC Alliance complied with the oil pact by 523%. Thursday marks the beginning of mourning decreed by Malian authorities after dozens of soldiers and policemen were killed in a terrorist attack this weekend. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Cuba, authorities and specialists assure that the fire at the Matanzas supertanker base is under control while work continues to extinguish the residues in the next few hours. The three working groups of the fire departments of Cuba, Mexico, and Venezuela have made progress in the last 24 hours to maintain control of the fire in the four tanks and to secure the surrounding areas. The firefighting department clarified that they have sufficient means and forces to extinguish the remnants of the fire in a very short time. At the meeting to evaluate the task carried out by experts from the three countries, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel reported on the efforts made by the teams to control the situation.
One of the key elements that allow us to make progress, especially in the last 2 days, was the effort made, especially by the colleagues from OPEC and our water and electricity companies, to guarantee the water flow needed to operate the supertanker bay system itself, which was partially damaged by the fire, and also to be able to add to that system the technologies that came from Venezuela and Mexico. And this is easy to say, but it required tremendous efforts.
A group of Brazilian doctors graduated in Cuba sent the first shipment of medicines to the island on Wednesday to help the victims of the fire caused last Friday by a lightning strike at a supertanker base in Matanzas. According to the Carioca Solidarity with Cuba Committee coordinator Carmen Diniz, the medical supplies were collected thanks to the campaign Vamos por Más, organized by the Brazil-Cuba Business Chamber. She also explained that the intention is to send, in addition to medicines, all the necessary supplies to support the medical attention required by those injured by the fire. Thanks to the heroic work of Cuban, Mexican, and Venezuelan firefighters, the fire was controlled on Wednesday after 5 days and several explosions at the supertanker base. Ecuador's Public Prosecutor's Office is investigating the details of the murder of journalist Gerardo Delgado, who was shot Wednesday in the coastal city of Manta Manabi province. According to investigations, the victim was traveling with his minor daughter when he alone was attacked. Amid preliminary investigations, 2 men were arrested, one of them carrying 2 firearms. The news has caused great commotion in the city as the journalist aspired to run as a candidate for a councilman in the election scheduled for February 2023. In Mexico, efforts to save miners who have been trapped inside a coal mine in Agujita in the northern state of Coahuila were stopped for security reasons. The mine shaft flooded after workers hit an area full of water last Wednesday, blocking their way out. 5 workers managed to escape, but 10 remain trapped. Military, scuba divers, rescue workers, and even drones have been deployed to locate the missing miners. After a new rescue attempt and a further examination of shaft 4 to verify its condition, authorities decided to postpone the rescue operation to an unspecified date. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador called on rescue teams to redouble their efforts in what he described as his administration's priority. Social organizations from different regions of Peru have mobilized to the capital in support of President Pedro Castillo after accusations of alleged corruption. Castillo himself said that after talks with representatives of the mobilizations, they agreed to demonstrate in a peaceful manner to offer their support to the president. Castillo thanked the demonstrators for being defenders of democracy in the midst of actions by the opposition that seek to destabilize the government and break away with the rule of law. In this context, Pedro Castillo rejected the accusation of alleged treason by Congress. He said those charges have been fueled by the investigations being conducted by the prosecutor's office on his alleged corruption. This Wednesday, the president of Peru asked his cabinet to incorporate social, indigenous, and grassroots organizations as part of his government in order to stop the coup attempt by opposition sectors. On the same day that Jennifer Paredes, Pedro Castillo's sister-in-law, was handed over to the public prosecutor's office, backed by the farmers' patrols, numerous organizations gathered at the government palace. There, in the presence of the head of state, the Prime Minister, and several members of the cabinet ratified their support for their administration. Barrera's arrest has been described as an abuse by the prosecutor's office, which has already raided the executive branch several times, and this Wednesday crossed the line and entered the presidential residence.
I ask those organizations that are raising their voices, as the ronderos did today in the morning, as the universities did this afternoon, and as you, as leaders and the cabinet, I ask them to become the defenders of democracy. And I ask you to do so in a disciplined way, to be an active part of this government through the ministries so that you can participate.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back from the South. On Wednesday, the Second Federal Court of Buenos Aires sentenced to life imprisonment three repressors of the dictatorship accused of crimes against humanity committed in the 6th Infantry Regiment of Mercedes. Martin Eduardo Sanchez Cini, Emilio Pedro Morello, and Horacio Linari must go to prison immediately for unlawful deprivation of liberty, torment, and homicides committed between March and July 1976 against 37 people, 8 of whom were murdered or disappeared. In the same proceeding, the court ordered the immediate release of former Second Lieutenant Luis Alberto Bruno and former First Corporal Ruben Osmar Andrade. Pablo Yonto, lawyer for the victims, informed at the end of the trial that testimonies of the teacher Rocio Angela Martinez's children provided their evidence as witnesses.
Tonight, Martin Eduardo Sanchez Zini, Emilio Pedro Morello, and Horacio Linari, that is 3 Army officers belonging at the time to the Mercedes Regiment, who participated in a series of events in June and July 76, were tried and sentenced. Those events culminated with murders and kidnappings at the PRT-ERP printing plant in San Andres, and they were also part of a task force that went there with orders to kidnap and kill.
Journalist Camilo Garcia, son of activist and teacher Rocio Martinez Borboya, whose testimony and that of her sister Barbara Garcia was used to carry out the sentence, recalled the restoring importance of justice.
Trying to think of my mother, and now that I think about it, it's clear to me that somewhere she must be smiling, like in that forum we have her smiling. That's how my mother must be. I believe we survived just to live this moment.
In the United States, the raid of Mar-a-Lago was based largely on information from a Federal Bureau of Investigation confidential source, one who was able to identify what classified documents former President Donald Trump was still hiding, and even the location of those documents. FBI Director Christopher Wray, who was appointed by former President Trump in 2017, confirmed there has been an uptick in violent threats against rank-and-file FBI agents in the wake of the raid. While not directly addressing those threats, Wray said any threat against law enforcement is cause for concern. In a statement, the president of the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association called the recent threats against FBI agents politically motivated threats of violence and unprecedented. The International Energy Agency confirmed that the Organization of Oil Exporting Countries and its non-associate allies, known as OPEC+, complied 523% with the oil cut agreement reached last July. The report presented by the organization this Thursday in Paris shows that OPEC oil production grew by 260,000 barrels per day and that of its partners by 220,000 barrels per day. Production in the 19 countries that make up the oil agreement increased by 570,000 barrels per day, according to the account of the agency dependent on the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. The alliance was 2.7 million barrels per day below the authorized levels. The agency's report shows that due to operational problems, lack of free production capacity, and the limitation imposed by the sanctions against Russia, the group of oil giants did not fully comply with the requests of hostile countries against Russia, precisely because of the strategy that they themselves have designed to weaken the Eurasian nation. The first part of the Spanish government's new energy-saving plan to cut fossil fuel consumption from Russia came into force. The government of Pedro Sánchez decided to implement in record time the most restrictive energy-saving legislation in Europe, in spite the country is not dependent on gas resources from Russia. These measures aim to moderate air conditioning, hence stores, cultural establishments such as cinemas or theaters, and airports, train and bus stations will have to keep the air conditioning at a minimum of 27 degrees Celsius. The decree will be enforced until November 2023 and does not specify sanctions in case of non-compliance. On Thursday, Greek authorities say a search and rescue operation was continuing for the second day for dozens of migrants missing after the boat they were on sank in rough seas. A Greek Navy vessel and 3 nearby merchant ships were still searching Thursday for between around 30 to 50 people believed missing. No further survivors had been located since 29 men from Afghanistan, Iran, and Iraq were rescued shortly after the boat sank about 61 kilometers southeast of the island of Carpathos. The survivors told authorities there had been a total of between 60 and 80 people on board the boat. The most common sea route for asylum seekers from the Middle East, Asia, and Africa has been from Turkey to nearby Greek islands in the Aegean Sea, but facing persistent reports of Greece summarily deporting new arrivals to Turkey without allowing them to apply for asylum, many are now attempting the much longer and more dangerous route directly to Italy. Russia and Turkey announced Thursday that they reached an agreement and Ankara will be able to pay Moscow for gas in rubles. The announcement was made by the Turkish Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, Fatih Dönmez, who added that all that remains to be adjusted is the timetable and prices. On the latter, the parties are analyzing the alternative of paying a percentage of the transit in Turkish lira. Once the technical details are adjusted, the details will be announced. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak confirmed that during the meeting in Sochi on August 5th, Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan have reached the agreement that the technical teams of the two countries are now finalizing. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un declared victory in the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic, ordering a lifting of maximum anti-epidemic measures imposed in May. During a meeting with doctors and health authorities, the leader said while lifting the maximum anti-pandemic measures, the country must maintain a strong anti-epidemic barrier and intensifying the anti-epidemic work until the end of the global health crisis. 3 months after the first case was confirmed, government authorities has reported no new suspected cases. Kim Jong-un also stated that the nation's official death rate of 74 people is an unprecedented miracle compared with those of other countries. More news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Authorities in Mali have declared 3 days of mourning beginning on Thursday after a pair of terror attacks killed dozens of soldiers over the weekend. In the most deadly incident, 42 soldiers were killed and 22 others injured in an attack on Sunday near the town of Tessit in the Gao region. The government said the complex and coordinated attack involved drones, car bombs, and artillery, blaming an affiliate of the Islamic State group. Later that day, 5 police officers were killed when extremists attacked a police station in the town of Sona near the border with Burkina Faso. A day after the attack, militants belonging to the Al-Qaeda affiliate group Jnim claimed responsibility. Kenyans are still waiting for the results of a close presidential election as the Electoral Commission is expected to announce the winner on Thursday. Vote tallying continued in Nairobi and across the country as people await the winner of the presidential election. Other elective seats such as members of county assembly, senators, governors, members of parliament and women representatives were being announced. Tuesday's election saw a turnout notably lower than in recent years. This election faced 2 main candidates: longtime opposition leader Raila Odinga, who won his 5th attempt for the presidency, and current Deputy President William Ruto. United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met President Paul Kagame in Rwanda's capital Kigali as part of his three-nation trip to the African continent. Blinken arrived late Wednesday in Rwanda, the final stop of a three-nation trip to Africa. The U.S. Secretary of State held talks with the Rwandan president on Thursday, facing calls from campaigners to pressure Kigali over its human rights record. During his visit to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Blinken said his country was very concerned by credible reports that Rwanda has supported the M23 rebels. Paul Kagame administration has consistently denied the claims. Ties between both nations have been strained since the mass arrival in the eastern DRC of Rwandan Hutus accused of slaughtering Tutsis during the 1994 Rwanda genocide, although there was a thaw after President Felix Tshisekedi took office in 2019. Heavy rain is affecting Yemen's capital of Sana'a, which dates back to ancient times, have in recent days caused the collapse of 10 buildings in the old city. Authorities also said at least 80 other buildings have been heavily damaged in the rains and are in need of urgent repairs. The old city of Sana'a is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The area is believed to have been inhabited for more than 2 millennia. Its architecture is unique, with foundations and first stories built of stone, deemed to be some of the world's first high-rises. In a statement, Abdullah Al-Qabsi, the culture minister in the Houthi administration, said they are working with international organizations and seeking help in dealing with the destruction. There were no immediate reports of death or injury from the collapses. Firefighters were battling a wildfire in southwestern France on Thursday, in a region known for its pine forest already ravaged by flames last month. More than 6,000 hectares have burned in the Gironde region and the neighboring Landes in the latest wildfire to Europe in a European nation. The blaze forced the evacuation of about 10,000 people and destroyed at least 17 houses. A major highway near the city of Bordeaux was closed on Wednesday afternoon due to the firing raging nearby. French Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin announced that more firefighters have been sent to the site in an effort to contain the fire. France is this week in the midst of its fourth heat wave of this year, as the country faces what the government warned is its worst drought on record. European Commission spokesperson Miriam Garcia Ferrer announced that 4 aircraft from the EU's fighting fleet have been sent to France to support French first responders in battling 8 major wildfires across the country.
The Commission has dispatched 4 airplanes from its rescue firefighting fleet positions in Greece and Sweden. In addition, firefighting teams from Germany, Poland, Austria and Romania are on their way to support French first responders via the mechanism. The EU continues to monitor the situation across Europe and stands ready to help the affected countries.
2 Montenegrin firefighters were injured as they tackled a wildfire overnight into Thursday close to the port town of Bar. The blaze has consumed thousands of acres of forest near the town and forced authorities to close the roads and all train services in the area. Several villages have been cut off from electricity grid. Fire teams were continuing to work to prevent the fire from reaching nearby homes. Montenegro's army has been called in to provide aerial helicopter support to firefighters in the area. TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on screen are in place since July 1st, and quite soon further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us, and our stories are heard in other faraway nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.